The anthropic principle is a philosophical concept that relates to the observable universe and the role of human observation within it. There's two primary formulations of the anthropic principle: the weak anthropic principle and the strong anthropic principle. The weak anthropic principle suggests that the observed characteristics of the universe must be compatible with the existence of conscious observers. In other words, the universe's physical constants and properties are suited for the existence of life, because if they weren't, we wouldn't be here to observe them. It doesn't necessarily imply that the universe was deliberately fine-tuned for life, but rather that we observe the universe in a way that allows for our existence.
All right, let's dive into the weak anthropic principle. This principle is a fundamental concept in cosmology and astrophysics, which states that the universe's properties must allow for the existence of observers, like us humans. Essentially, it argues that the conditions in the universe must be suitable for intelligent life to develop and observe the cosmos. The weak anthropic principle is considered a methodological principle rather than a testable scientific theory. It emphasizes that our observations of the universe are inevitably biased by the fact that we exist within it. In other words, our existence is contingent upon specific conditions, such as the right balance of physical constants, the availability of carbon, and other factors that have enabled life to evolve on Earth. The concept was first introduced by physicist Robert Dicke in 1957, responding to Paul Dirac's earlier proposal about the relationship between the values of different constants of nature. Since then, it has been an important consideration in discussions about the nature of the universe and our place within it.
Strong anthropic principle. The strong anthropic principle takes a more assertive stance, suggesting that the universe is structured and fine-tuned with the specific purpose of producing conscious observers. This view implies a more teleological or purposeful aspect to the universe's existence, suggesting that the fundamental parameters and laws of the universe are precisely what they are to facilitate the emergence of life and intelligent beings.
The strong anthropic principle is a more controversial and speculative idea than the weak anthropic principle. It asserts that the universe must have properties that allow for the eventual emergence of intelligent life, almost implying that the universe was designed specifically for life. In other words, the strong anthropic principle suggests that the universe's physical laws and constants must be fine-tuned for life to develop. Some proponents argue that this principle might even imply a teleological or purposeful direction to the universe, with life playing a significant role in shaping the cosmos. However, the strong anthropic principle is often criticized for being untestable, as it seemingly presumes the very conclusions it seeks to prove. Critics argue that this principle may lead to an anthropocentric view of the universe and undermine the scientific principle of assuming a non-privileged position in understanding the cosmos. Despite its contentious nature, the strong anthropic principle continues to provoke fascinating discussions and debates among cosmologists, physicists, and philosophers, touching on issues of purpose, consciousness, and our relationship with the universe.
The anthropic principle has implications for discussions related to the fine-tuning of the universe, the existence of life, and the nature of the universe itself. It's often invoked in the context of cosmology, astrophysics, and the philosophy of science to explore the relationship between the fundamental nature of the universe and the presence of conscious beings, such as humans. Here are some examples of the anthropic principle. Fine-tuning of physical constants. One of the classic examples of the anthropic principle involves the fine-tuning of physical constants in the universe. For instance, the strength of gravity, the charge of an electron, and the cosmological constant are precisely set to values that allow for the existence of stars, planets, and life as we know it. The anthropic principle suggests that if these constants were even slightly different, the universe might not be hospitable to life. Goldilocks zone. In astrobiology, the concept of the Goldilocks zone, or the habitable zone around a star, is often discussed in the context of the anthropic principle. This zone represents the region around a star where the conditions are just right for liquid water to exist on the surface of the planet. Earth, for example, is in the habitable zone of the Sun, which is essential for the emergence and sustenance of life. Galactic habitable zone. The anthropic principle can also be applied to the position of our solar system within the galaxy. Some argue that the Earth's location in the Milky Way, far enough from the galactic center to avoid excessive radiation, is another example of how the universe seems to be conducive to the existence of life, the observer effect. The anthropic principle is sometimes used to address the so-called observer effect in quantum mechanics. Some interpretations of quantum physics suggest that the act of observation can affect the outcome of quantum events. The anthropic principle is invoked to suggest that the universe's fundamental properties may have been shaped in a way that allows for the emergence of conscious observers who make such observations. These examples highlight how the anthropic principle is used to explore the idea that the fundamental parameters and conditions of the universe appear to be finely tuned to permit the existence of life and conscious beings such as humans. The anthropic principle raises questions about whether this fine-tuning is a result of chance, necessity, or some deeper cosmic purpose. Critics of the anthropic principle have raised several objections to its application and implications, often challenging the validity and utility of this philosophical concept. A common criticism revolves around the anthropic principle's potential tautological nature, as it tends to be formulated in a way that seemingly reinforces what it seeks to explain. One criticism pertains to the weak anthropic principle. Critics argue that it offers limited explanatory power. They contend that the WAP often merely states that we exist, and therefore the universe's properties must be compatible with our existence. This leads to what some philosophers call a selection effect. It's essentially a circular argument. We observe the universe the way it is because if it were different, we wouldn't be here to observe it. This criticism implies that the WAP doesn't provide significant insights into the underlying reasons for the universe's characteristics, such as the precise values of physical constants. Another criticism is directed at the strong anthropic principle, the SAP, which posits that the universe is fine-tuned with the explicit purpose of generating conscious observers. Critics argue that the SAP can be overly speculative and teleological, implying a purpose or design in the universe that has not been demonstrated. They question the scientific legitimacy of asserting that the universe's fundamental parameters are intentionally set to produce life. Furthermore, critics argue that invoking the anthropic principle can stifle scientific inquiry and curiosity by prematurely accepting the fine-tuning of the universe as a given. They believe that pursuing alternative explanations, such as multiverse theories or different ways of understanding physical constants, should not be dismissed in favor of the anthropic principle. Additionally, some critics argue that the anthropic principle does not contribute to our understanding of why the universe is the way it is, or why life exists, but merely serves as a philosophical convenience to sidestep challenging questions about the nature of the cosmos. Pi, tell us about the anthropic principle.
While the weak anthropic principle is generally accepted as a methodological tool in cosmology, the strong anthropic principle is often criticized for being untestable and potentially anthropocentric. Critics argue that it may lead to a privileged view of humanity's place in the universe, and it is difficult to distinguish between a universe designed for life and one in which life is simply a consequence of specific conditions.
In summary, criticisms of the anthropic principle include concerns about circular reasoning, its teleological implications, potential hindrance to scientific investigation, and its limited explanatory power. These critiques challenge the extent to which the anthropic principle provides genuine insights into the fundamental nature of the universe. It's impossible to escape our anthropocentric bias. We have only our universe to observe. We can only speculate about other universes. Thanks to advancements in observation and measurement capabilities, we can take precise measurements of the world around us to sidestep a large part of the sensory bias humans are limited by. Then we can speculate about what would happen if we changed certain physical constants, but perhaps consciousness and life itself would take a different form in a universe with different physical constants. At the moment, we have no way of answering these fundamental questions. If you like this kind of philosophical subject matter, help us out by liking the video and subscribing to the channel.